Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Farasute 5506B. This watch is available from shop 1102456481 store on aliexpress.com for €280. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a cardboard watch box, which is housed inside this outer black cardboard sleeve. On the front of the cardboard sleeve, we have the Farasute logo and Farasute emblem in gilt, which is very aesthetically pleasing. So one withdraws the watch box from the sleeve, which is a snug fit. This is the watch box itself, made from cardboard, very aesthetically pleasing charcoal grey tone to it, which is matte. It's very well finished. And on the front of the hinged lid, we have the Farasute emblem and the brand motto, Shine Now, in gilt. Spring-loaded hinged lid is heavily spring-loaded. The underside of the hinged lid is upholstered with contrasting white vinyl to a good standard. And again, we have the gilt emblem and gilt logo. And in the base, which is also fully upholstered with white vinyl, we have a cutout and a strip of flexible metal which can be manipulated to suit larger or smaller watch size straps. So, excellent presentation, and it is acceptable to use a cardboard watch box, bearing in mind this is a low tier price point piece at €280. With regards to the items that come with the piece, it also comes with this black envelope, which again is branded with a gilt emblem. On the reverse, it's also trimmed in gilt, so very aesthetically pleasing. This cardboard envelope houses the items which I'll show you. So we have a fold-out leaflet, which is the owner's instruction manual, with clear, concise diagrams, the instructions in English, detailing the operation of the movement used, which is a custom Hangzhou manual wind caliber, made specifically for the Farasute 5506B. One also gets this plastic warranty card, and on the reverse it has a QR code which can be scanned with your Android or iPhone to download the terms and conditions of the 2-year international warranty. Also invites you to share images of your piece on the official WeChat for Farasute. WeChat is the Chinese equivalent of YouTube, it's their social media. There's also space to fill in the date of purchase, reference number and the jeweler or retailer, as well as the website farasute.com. This is good, it's innovative, and I like to see QR codes used on plastic warranty cards. More brands are doing this in the low tier, mid tier and high tier respectively. It's good to be able to activate a 2-year international warranty and download the terms and conditions of the warranty by simply scanning a QR code. I want to give due credit to Farasute here, because often low tier Chinese brands only cover their watches with a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of international warranty, which is the industry standard for mid tier pieces, between €500 and €5,000 respectively, is excellent. In the low tier, between €0 and €500 respectively. So good to see a 2-year warranty. And lastly, one also gets this branded microfiber polishing cloth. It's got Farasute in Mandarin characters, and also it's got a QR code. Now this is the first time I've seen a QR code used on a branded microfiber polishing cloth as an alternative to just the brand emblem or brand logo. And again, one can scan the QR code with your Android or iPhone to download information about the Farasute brand, including the terms and conditions of their warranty, owner's instruction manual, and of course their entire current collection. So good to see that. It's innovative, and I think more brands should follow suit. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this Farasute 5506B is clearly an homage to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue. The 5506B is available in the following colour options: silver, salmon, blue, bamboo green and brown respectively. Of the colour options, I think this blue version is the best looking, and of course it is the closest homage to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue. So with regards to the dimensions, we have a 39.8mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 46mm, a thickness of 8.7mm and a lug width of 20mm. The genuine leather strap is made from calf leather, textured on the top side, smooth on the underside, and it tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. Curved profile to the buckle and tang, which is solid 316L grade stainless steel, signed with the Farasute emblem, which is engraved with high definition engraving. Nice heavy gauge to it, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks. Nice bevels, which are deburred and chamfered, no sharp edges, and the undercuts to the flanks have been deburred very well, so it's very comfortable. Comfort level and feel good factor is therefore enhanced, and it is correctly proportioned. It gives the piece a dress watch or daily piece aesthetic. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the flat sapphire crystal underside. Dial is textured, and it is a good homage to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue, because we have the same dial layout with a subdial for the seconds sighted between 7 and 8 o'clock. Also, the proportions of the Arabic numerals are excellent. Legibility is good. I like the fonts used. Visually, it does look very similar to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue. The font gives it a very dress watch or daily watch aesthetic. Teardrop hands are contrasting white, and they contrast very well with the textured navy blue dial, which is matte, versus being a glossy enamel blue dial or sunray blue dial. I like the finishing to it. So the centre section, the circle, has a textured grid formation to it, which is very aesthetically pleasing. And then the outer portion of it, beneath the Arabic numerals, which are printed on the dial in white, has a smooth portion to it, which has a matte finish. And then at the very edge of the dial, the circumference, we have a rail track chapter ring, which is clearly indexed with white minute ticks on the rail track chapter ring, and the quality of the printing of the Arabic numerals, the minute ticks on the rail track chapter ring, and the rail track chapter ring itself are high definition crisp. Subdial is also correctly proportioned. I like it sighted between 7 and 8, and also I like the proportions of the Arabic numerals because the orientation is correct. If you look at the top portion, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, they are vertical, they're the correct way up to be easy to read, and then they've inverted the lower Arabic numerals, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is good as per the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue, which this is an homage to. It means the legibility is good because the Arabic numerals are always the correct way up. The orientation is correct. They're not inverted, they're not upside down. For example, they don't run 360 degrees around the dial, and therefore the lower portion would be upside down. You can always read the Arabic numerals because they're always the correct way up on the top portion and the lower portion of the dial. They also made the correct decision as per the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue of making the 8, 7 Arabic numerals smaller because of course the subdial sits between the 7 and 8 o'clock position, and it is necessary, rather than cutting off the Arabic numerals and having portions of them, they've got the full Arabic numerals but they've made them smaller, and of course this allows for the subdial to be sighted without cutting off the Arabic numerals. Legibility is good, both of the subdial and also the Arabic numerals. I like it. Now, teardrop hands are correctly proportioned. I like the length and also the thickness of the hands. Often low-tier Chinese brands have a tendency to undersize handsets and they make the hands too short. What I like about this teardrop minute hand, which is contrasting white, the tip of the minute hand extends all the way to the minute ticks on the chapter ring, which is correct. And if you look at the hour hand, which is also teardrop shaped as per the FP Journe Chronomètre, you can see that the tip of the hour hand extends all the way to the printed Arabic numerals, as it should do. So legibility is good. There's enough difference in the length between the longer minute hand and the shorter hour hand to immediately differentiate between the two, although they do have a very similar shape. You can easily read the time, and you can tell which is the hour hand, which is the minute hand, so it's good. The length and proportions of the subdial second hand are also correct, and I like the skeletonization of the counterbalance on the subdial hand. Looks good, gives the piece a nice Art Deco aesthetic, and visually it does look very similar to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue, which it is an homage to. So dial execution is good. Quality of the printing to the Farasute logo on the plaque, which is raised and embossed on the dial, is high definition crisp. The font isn't too thick and blurry. I like the fonts used, and I like the legibility of it. The other thing I like about the dial is it's minimalist and it's got good clarity. It's rather like a Bauhaus minimalist design because the dial isn't over branded with unnecessary text and specification. This is often something that low-tier Chinese brands do. For example, they print too much unnecessary information on the dial, such as the water resistance rating, which is 50 meters. This is negligible information for a daily wear piece or a dress piece. We're not looking to dive watch, so therefore we don't need to have, for example, 50 meters on the dial. We simply have the Farasute text logo on the plaque. That's it. So very aesthetically pleasing, and visually it does give the impression of the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue, which this is an homage to. They've done a good job of it. So solid 316L grade stainless steel bezel, domed profile to it versus being flat. Quality of the mirror polishing to the bezel is outstanding. What I like about it is it's low profile. So it allows the flat sapphire crystal to project above it, and there's a large bevel around the edge of the flat sapphire crystal which catches the light. Very aesthetically pleasing. It's very thin, very low profile. This piece is only 8.7, which is my favourite aspect of it. The second favourite aspect is the lack of heft. It's only 61 grams. So they have fully maximised, fully utilised the benefits of using the custom Hangzhou manual wind caliber, which is very thin because there's no rotor. It's not an automatic caliber, it's manual wind. 8.7 is exceptional. 50 meters is also the correct choice for that reason, because they've been able to slim down the sapphire crystal and the sapphire crystal glazing in the exhibition caseback. There's something I really like about this piece, and I'll show you in detail in the wrist shots, but To clarify, the rehort, this is one of the most low profile rehorts I have seen on a watch, regardless of price point. Low tier between 0 and €500, mid tier between 500 and 5,000, or high tier 10,000 plus, regardless of tier. Low tier, mid tier, high tier, regardless of price point. This is one of the thinnest, lowest profile rehorts I have seen on a watch. Now I appreciate it's 50 meters. We're not looking at a 100 or 200 meter piece. That's a given, but nonetheless, just look how slender. I'm going to tilt it at an oblique angle so you can see it with the camera focusing on it. Just look how thin, how low profile the rehort is. It's not a deep rehort. And this is fantastic. This improves the legibility, also makes it more aesthetically pleasing. But from a practical perspective, it's actually useful, it's beneficial, because when you look at the crystal straight on, the AR coating gives perfect clarity, but the point is, because of the shallow rehort, the sapphire crystal sits very close to the Canon pinion and the two hands, the hour and minute hand. And again, this is the benefit of having a subdial at in between 7 and 8, versus having a second hand set into the Canon pinion. Usually with freehand watches, they have the hour hand stacked then with the minute hand, and then stacked with the second hand on top of the Canon pinion, and then of course the underside of the sapphire crystal therefore needs additional clearance above the Canon pinion and the second hand to prevent the second hand fouling it. But this is the benefit, and they've fully utilised it. This custom Hangzhou manual wind caliber has a subdial for the seconds between 7 and 8. So this means there is no second hand sitting on top of the Canon pinion with a three-hand watch. And what we have here is the sapphire crystal runs very close with minimal clearance to the Canon pinion and the minute hand, without the minute hand fouling it. Now, when you tilt the piece at an oblique angle, you can see it looks like the sapphire crystal is touching the handset. That's how close it is to the dial. That's how close it is to the minute hand on the top of the hour hand. And the low profile rehorts is brushed satin finish, but it's finished to perfection. And I really like the fact that the crystal looks invisible. When you look at it straight on, it has such perfect clarity, and the AR coating has such perfect clarity. It looks like it's invisible, and it looks like you're looking at the dial and the teardrop hands with no crystal in the watch whatsoever. So you get the full benefit of the textured finish to the dial, you get the benefit of the sapphire crystal being close to the handset, close to the dial. Legibility is enhanced, functionality is enhanced, you can easily read the dial. The white teardrop hands contrast very well with the navy blue textured dial, sub-dial contrasts very well, the legibility is fantastic, and also it just looks great because the low profile rehort and the thin sapphire crystal looks very good. Other low-tier Chinese brands make the mistake of using a box top hat double dome sapphire crystal or a double dome sapphire crystal, and of course we're all familiar with this. They have a very high profile, they have 2mm of thickness to the piece, and then of course they also have a very deep rehorts because they're often powered by, for example, the Seiko NH35A or the NH38. And of course they're automatic, need extra clearance, thick caliber, deep rehort is necessary because of the tall hand stack height on the Canon pinion. But this is the benefit of this being manual wind. They have fully utilised it. Very low profile rehort, very thin crystal because it's 50 metres. They've been able to slim it down. If this were 100 metres, it would need a 1.5mm thick crystal, but because it's only 50 metres, the crystal can be below 1mm. And you can see just how thin it is. Fantastic. So, bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, mirror polished to perfection. Case is solid 316L grade stainless steel, mirror polished in between the lugs to the same standard as the top of the curved lugs and the flanks. Every facet of this head of the piece is mirror polished to the same standard. Now, with any piece, regardless of tier, regardless of price point, the first area I look at with a mirror polished case is in between the lugs, especially with low tier pieces between €0 and €500 price point, because often in between the lugs is an area that low tier Chinese brands will use as a production cost cutting measure. They will simply machine in between the lugs internally or brush satin finish in between the lugs in order to reduce production costs per piece and therefore maximise profit margin per piece. It's an area where they can save on production time and therefore production cost. Farasute deserve credit because they haven't done that. The mirror polishing internally in between the lugs on the 6 and the 12 o'clock side is done to the same level as the bezel, the top of the lugs, the flanks and the exhibition case back. This is high tier level finishing. To put this mirror polishing into perspective, it's not low tier €0 to €500 level, which this watch is. It's €280 respectively. This is not mid tier level, which is €500 to €5,000. What we're looking at in terms of mirror polishing here on the bezel, head of the piece and case back is high tier level. This is €10,000+ level. It reminds me of Grand Seiko Zaratsu level polishing, which is some of the best in the watchmaking industry. Quality of the mirror polishing to the bezel is stellar. Quality of the mirror polishing to the case is stellar. Quality to the mirror polishing of the case back is stellar. No production cost cutting measure. Even in between the lugs is mirror polished to very high tier level. Stellar. This is some of the best mirror polishing I've seen on a low tier Chinese watch between €0 and €500. Farasute deserve full credit. It's fantastic. So let's look at the push-pull crown in detail. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, and it's knurled finish. So rather than coin edge finishing, you can see the knurling has a curvature to it, which is rather like fluting, and the fluted knurls on the bezel are very aesthetically pleasing. They give the piece a Art Deco aesthetic, or alternatively dress watch aesthetic. Rather than just using the default option of a straight cut coin edge bezel, they've curved the flutes or the knurls, and it adds interest, and it's done to perfection. Grippy and tactile without being sharp. There's a large chamfer which deletes the tips of the knurled teeth, and they've done a very good job of the finishing. Now, subjectively, one could be critical because the solid 316L grade stainless steel crown has a cap which is mirror polished. It's sterile. I would like to see them engrave or emboss the Farasute emblem. So to remind you, this is the star emblem in gilt, and it is very aesthetically pleasing and good continuity of branding because it's engraved on the buckle and tang, which is good, and also on the sleeve and the watch box itself, warranty card and the owner's instruction leaflet. Now, they haven't branded the emblem on the dial, which is fair enough because they want this to be an homage to the FP Journe Chronomètre blue. And of course, the text logo is enough. If they applied the emblem, that of course would make it too busy, too cluttered. So that's good. The buckle and tang, as you can see, has the star emblem, which is aesthetically pleasing as an alternative to the Farasute text logo. For continuity and to give this piece a higher end feel, I would like to see the crown also engraved or embossed with a star emblem because that would take it to a higher level. One has to be magnanimous, one has to be realistic. This is €280. It's a clear production cost cutting measure in order to maximise profit margin per piece, making it sterile versus unsigned with an embossed or engraved emblem, but they could improve that, and I think it would justify the €280 price point better. So let's look at the strap in detail. Strap is calf leather, textured on the top side, and we've got matching navy blue stitching around the perimeter, no loose stitches. Soft and supple. To put this into perspective, it's as soft and supple as a Hirsch calf leather strap, which is made in Austria, or Horween shell cordvan strap, which is tanned in Chicago. Some of the very best in the watchmaking industry. Doesn't feel stiff, doesn't require any breaking in. It's slightly thicker at the spring bar end where it needs to be more robust and reinforced, which is good. Then it tapers down in thickness and tapers down in width, down to the buckle and tang end. So let's look at the underside. Underside has a contrasting tan liner, and what I like about it is it doesn't have navy blue stitching on the underside. They've matched the tan tone to the liner with tan stitching. It says genuine leather, it's calf leather, 20 denoting the lug width and 120 is the length. What I like to see is the correct choice of quick release stainless steel spring bars because that negates for a spring bar tool. Should you wish to exchange the strap, there's no risk of slipping off the spring bar and scuffing and scratching the mirror polished lugs, which is good. They could further enhance this piece with pierced lugs, and that of course would give it a dress watch aesthetic, vintage aesthetic. On the other side, it's got Farasute embossed, which is very aesthetically pleasing. And again, we have 20mm the lug width, and 75 refers to the length in millimeters. Very nicely finished, perfectly smooth. Tan liners both on the buckle and tang side and the hole side. Plenty of holes to allow for fine tuning the length from a 6 to a 7.5 inch wrist size, which I'll show you in the wrist shot. So let's test the knurled crown execution. So push pull crown, 50 meters of hermetic seal is acceptable. When it's closed in the manual wind position, one can manually wind the custom Hangzhou manual wind caliber to its maximum 70-hour power reserve. Now, 70 hours is very strong power reserve. The industry standard for automatic and manual wind movements is 40 hours, and therefore usually a manual wind or an automatic will take 40 clockwise turns. This has 70 hours. The negative is therefore it needs more clockwise turns to fully manually wind it. So to put this into perspective, 40 clockwise turns will fully manually wind a typical movement such as the NH35A or the SW200-1 or the 9015, which we're all familiar with. This Hangzhou is a custom-made caliber made specifically for Farasute with the 5506B we're looking at. It takes 50 clockwise turns. So you don't have to clockwise turn it 70 turns, which would be excessive, although it does have a 70-hour power reserve. 50 clockwise turns will suffice. When the mainspring is fully exhausted, when it's fully unwound, if you give it 50 clockwise turns, that will fully wind it to its maximum 70 hours. So it's good. You only have to manually wind it an additional 10 turns above the standard 40, which is the industry standard. Feels smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty. To put this into perspective, it feels smoother than manually winding a HK Precision Technology PT5000, which feels stiff. It also feels rough and gritty. Feels lighter and smoother than manually winding a Seiko NH35A or a Miyota 8215. And I like it. It actually feels lighter and smoother than manually winding a Sellita SW200-1 or an ETA 2824-2, or alternatively a Soprod P024, which you may be familiar with. Also feels lighter and smoother than manually winding a Miyota 9015. So it's very light, very smooth, doesn't feel stiff, doesn't feel rough or gritty, feels pleasant. And it's actually very nice to manually wind the 50 turns. So it's not detrimental, it doesn't have a rotor and you can't automatically wind it, either by wearing it for 8 to 12 hours per day or putting it on an automatic watch winder. 50 clockwise turns is enough. 70 hours is very strong specification. Think about that for a moment. That's 30 hours in addition, an extra day, over an extra day of power reserve versus a standard 40-hour piece. 70 hours is one of the main benefits of this caliber. Pulling it out to the first click position, is the final click. There's no phantom date setting position. This caliber doesn't have a date complication. That's the benefit, no phantom date. It hacks the movement. So we're now in the time setting position. And if you look at the second subdial between 7 and 8 o'clock, you can see the subdial second hand has now stopped dead. So therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second. We're now in the time setting position. Feels very light, feels very smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty, doesn't feel stiff, feels much lighter than an NH35A, lighter than a 9015, lighter than an SW200-1. I really like it. It feels silky smooth. No resistance in the gearing, has 18 joules. It's a very low friction caliber. Feels refined, feels smooth, minimal backplay. When you rotate the knurled crown, which is correctly proportioned, it's easy to get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. The teardrop minute hand almost immediately responds. There's very minimal backplay in the gearing. They mesh very well. Feels smooth. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that reinstates the 50 metres of hermetic seal. This does not need a screw down crown and 100 metres. We're not looking at a dive watch. For a daily wear piece or a dress piece, 50 metres and a push-pull crown is perfectly acceptable, and I think they've made the correct choice by not using a screw down crown. Had they uprated this to 100 metres and used a screw down crown, of course they'd have to make the sapphire crystal thicker in the front, sapphire crystal thicker in the back, and of course that would have been detrimental because this would not be low profile at 8.7, it would be more like 10mm, because it would have a 1.5mm crystal in the front and a 1.5mm crystal in the back. But this has a thinner crystal in the front, thinner crystal in the back, and it's only 8.7. And that's the benefit of this being 50 metres. Thinner sapphire crystals used, and of course push-pull crown is acceptable, therefore, for those aforementioned reasons. So let's look at the case back in detail. Sapphire crystal glazed exhibition case back, nice large diameter sapphire crystal glazing, and it does an outstanding job of displaying the custom made Hangzhou caliber. So 18 joules to it. It's got milled stripes on the main plate, which is rather like Côtes du Genève or Geneva stripes, and it's laser etched and then infilled with gilt. So we've got laser etched Farasute emblem, Farasute logo, and then 18 joules. And what they've done is they've laser etched the engraving, and then what they've done is they've applied gilt into the laser etching to give it a gold appeal. It's also decorated with blued screws, which adds interest to it, and I like the full balance bridge, which adds interest to it. It's very well finished. If you look at the milled stripes, which are like Côtes du Genève or Geneva stripes, they've got a rather holographic effect to the milling, and absolutely gorgeous the way they reflect and refract the light with the milled stripes. It's a very well decorated custom Hangzhou manual wine caliber, and I really like the look of it. The other benefit is it's incredibly thin, and of course the benefit of it not having a rotor is it doesn't require any clearance. So the sapphire crystal runs very close to it, almost like it's touching, and of course that enhances the legibility and the clarity. But the benefit is this sapphire crystal glazing is very thin. It's only 50 metres, and one could say that's detrimental. It could be a screw down case back with 100 metres, for example. This is a pressed on case back. Normally I'd prefer to see a screw down case back with 100 meters, but for a daily wear piece or a dress piece, it is acceptable to use a flat pressed on case back. Now the benefit is, just look how thin it is. This is one of the thinnest exhibition case backs I've ever seen on a watch. And of course, the overall benefit is this reduces the thickness of this piece down to only 8.7. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus on it. Low profile flanks, low profile flat sapphire crystal in the front. But look how flat this case back is. The sapphire crystal glazing looks invisible when you look at it straight on. It looks like it's touching the bridge to the movement. That's how close it runs to it. Now, of course, if this were an automatic with a rotor, the rotor would need clearance to prevent the rotor fouling the underside of the sapphire crystal. But because it's flat, you can see the flat sapphire crystal glazing can be very close, minimal clearance, so there's no risk of it fouling the movement, the gears, for example, and the balance wheel. You can see just how close it runs. Very aesthetically pleasing. Decorated to perfection, and the blue screws are heat treated blue rather than being anodized or painted. And you can see it's a very well made Hangzhou movement, which is specifically made, it's custom made for the Farasute 5506B we're looking at. Excellent, very nice decoration to it, large proportion. Stainless steel portion of the exhibition case back is concentric CNC lathe tool machined, and then the outer circumference is mirror polished, and there are no milled slots because it's not a screw down case back, it's pressed on, so it's perfectly smooth. Quality of the engraving is high definition and crisp. I like the fonts used, it matches the Farasute logo font, and it details the specifications such as 580M, which is 50 meters, sapphire crystal and stainless steel. Excellent. Good quality case back, very low profile, sits very flat, very snug to the wrist, feels smooth, doesn't feel rough, doesn't scratch the wrist. Underside thread of the piece has flawless mirror polishing, tips of the lugs have been deburred with bevels, nice large undercuts to the flanks which have large bevels, they delete the sharp edges. Excellent quality finishing to the case back, head of the piece throughout. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot. Now just bear with me, I'm going to remove my Concord 40. And we'll see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. So this will fit from a 6-inch up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist. Now, although it does fit a maximum 7.5, I can just do it up. If I pull the strap tight, I can engage the end of the strap in both of the keepers. The first sliding keeper and the second fixed keeper, as you can see. So 8 inches is the absolute maximum, but it is tight. For example, I can't fit an index finger beneath the strap and buckle at all times. So 7.5 really is the maximum. There are enough holes in it to size it down to a 6, up to a maximum 7.5, and it will just fit my 8-inch wrist, but it's a tight fit. But what I like about it is, above all else, there are two things I want you to be aware of. 61 grams is the first. This feels invisible on wrist. It's one of the most comfortable daily wear or dress pieces in 40mm. Well, it's 39.8, but visually it looks and feels like a 40 because it's only 0.2 below that. At 39.8, this lacks heft. I would expect this to be circa 65 grams, but it's not. It's only 61. And just look how snug this fits to the wrist. No gap whatsoever beneath the undercuts to the flanks. No gap whatsoever between the tips of the curved lugs. 20mm is the correct lug width. Strap is correctly proportioned. Nice matte finish to it, which has a grid pattern to it, which complements the grid pattern on the centre of the dial. Very aesthetically pleasing. Feel good factor is 10 out of 10. Comfort level is 10 out of 10. At 61 grams, it feels invisible. This feels weightless. It feels like it's an invisible watch. You cannot feel it on your wrist. The comfort level has been maximised. They've really optimised the movements, which is the custom Hangzhou caliber, manual wind, because it's so thin. This piece, the second thing I really like, is 8.7. It's one of the thinnest manual wind pieces I have reviewed on my channel. 8.7 is fantastic. If this were 9mm or 10mm, it would be nothing special. It would not impress me. But 8.7 does impress me. For a low-tier Chinese-made piece at €280, this is incredibly thin. If this were quartz powered, I would say 8.7 isn't anything special. But for mechanical manual wind movement with 50 meters, yes, 8.7 is fantastic. The benefit is, needless to say, this will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff. You'll know from my previous reviews, anything below 13mm is the sweet spot to easily slip underneath the shirt cuff. At 8.7, it is well below 13. So, gives nice wrist presence. at 39.8. It wears and feels more like a 40. It's just 0.2 below 40. 46 lug to lug is compact. It's 2mm below the sweet spot, but I'm not going to be critical of it because this will fit 6 to 7 inch wrists to perfection. It will also fit 7 to 8 inch wrists to perfection. 48 would be beneficial for larger 7 to 8 inch wrists. That is the perfect sweet spot. But at 46, this will fit you if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist like it's a bespoke suit, tailor-made. 46 is nice and compact. You'll really enjoy the lack of thickness. The flanks are very low profile. It's not thick. It's not slab-sided. 8.7 thick is exceptional. 61 grams is exceptional. Comfort level is maximised. Feel good factor is maximised. It's just a great looking piece from every angle. I absolutely love the white contrasting teardrop hands, textured grid dial, Arabic numerals, FP Journe font, sub dial between 7 and 8. It's just fantastic. Flat crystal is the correct choice. We're looking at correct choice after correct choice. Low profile domed bezel. Everything about it. Perfect daily wear piece. Perfect dress piece. I love the versatility of it. Even the matte blue navy blue strap. This grid formation matches the dial. Colour tone is good. Navy blue on the strap matches the navy blue tone of the dial. Fantastic piece. Comfort level and feel good factor are stellar. I like everything about it. So it's very well proportioned. 46 lug to lug, 39.8 diameter and only 8.7 thick. Exceptional thickness. Now, there's no lume on the dial and hands, so we don't need to do a lume test. Now, subjectively, one can be critical of that. I think Farasute have missed an opportunity here, because can you imagine if this piece had a fully loomed Arabic numerals on the dial, fully loomed teardrop hour and minute hand, fully loomed sub-dial with a sub-dial hand? It would be stellar. If you could read this in the dark, with all the whites paint, including the rail track chaptering, if this were all BGW9 glowing blue in the dark, it would just look fantastic. But as it stands, it's a daily wear or dress piece, and therefore one could be magnanimous and say, well, it is acceptable just to use white paint on the rail track chaptering, Arabic numerals, teardrop hands and the sub-dial with the sub-dial second hand. But I think had they loomed it with BGW9 throughout instead of just white paint, that would take it to a higher level, and again that would fully justify the price point at 280. But that's the way it is nonetheless, so we don't need to do a loom test. So last I'll summarise the piece, but first I will discuss the movements because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. So this is powered by a custom Hangzhou manual wind calibre. Now, 18 joules, runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Has hand winding and hacking, which is for complications. No date complication is beneficial because we don't have a phantom date setting position on the crown. 70-hour power reserve is very strong specification. 40 hours is the industry standard for mechanical manual wind movements and automatics, as you're aware of. This has an additional 30 hours, so it's very strong. 70 hours is excellent. And the stated accuracy is plus or minus 5 seconds per day. It's regulated in 5 positions. This one is running consistently at plus 5 seconds per day. Chronometer accuracy. Chronometer accuracy is minus 4 to plus 6. This is running at plus 5. When fully wound to its maximum 70 hours. Hangzhou have a reputation for reliability, build quality, quality control, materials and finishing. This is stellar. Quality of the finishing is excellent. I like the milled stripes on the bridge, on the main plate, and also like the blued screws for decoration. And it's a very good looking calibre, very thin, very low profile. Even the quality of the laser etching and inlay with gilt for the Farasute emblem, Farasute logo and 18 joules is high definition. So decoration is good, looks good, build quality is good, quality control is good, finishing is good, accuracy is excellent. Plus 5, 70 hours. No negatives. And what I like about it is it has the smooth 4 Hz sweep. It doesn't stutter or judder because it doesn't run at 3 Hz and 21,600. It runs at 28,800. Fantastic, and it has hacking, which is excellent. So now last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. €280, so low tier piece, low tier is 0 to 500 respectively. Yes, I'm going to declare it excellent quality, and I'm going to declare the value as okay. I'm not going to say good or excellent value at 280 because this does face some stiff competition from other low tier Chinese brands, but nonetheless, quality control, build quality, materials and finishing are excellent throughout, so therefore the quality is excellent. Value I think is okay. To make it more competitive or to increase it to good or excellent value, they need to drop the price from 280 to below €250 respectively, but it's a fantastic looking piece, excellent feel-good factor, excellent comfort level, and I really like it. It is a very good homage to the FP Journe Chronomètre Blue. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Farasute 5506B. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.